What's going on, Badger fans? Really excited about this one. Coming on to the show for a second time, we got Rapheal Davis talking about the Badgers, Big Ten basketball, and everything in between. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Badger fans, welcome to Locked On Badgers. As always, your team every day. Really do appreciate it. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And we're wasting no more time. We're bringing Rapheal Davis into the show. Second time on the show for Rapheal Davis. 2015 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Purdue Star, one of 8 Boilermakers with 1,000 career points, 500 boards, 200 assists. Thank you for joining the show again, my friend.
I appreciate you having me. It's always a pleasure to be on.
Listen, I wanted to, before we get started, and I always say this when we get really good guests on, I run out of time before questions. So I want to focus on getting smarter here on the show. But you came on the show when we first started. You were actually the first guest on Locked On Badgers ever. And I've always been really grateful for you taking the time to do that when a lot of people would have just said no. And you were very gracious with your time. You remain gracious with your time. So I want to let you know I've always been very grateful for that.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. No, thanks for saying that. But no, so anytime I can talk hoop, it's always fun for me. But no, I appreciate you even asking me to be on.
I love it, man. I want to start here. This basketball now, when you played 2000, you were in kind of the mid 2000, 2012, 2015, 16 in that range. You were a good three-point shooter, good defender, switchable, versatile. Do you think your game would translate even better to basketball now?
It depends too, because really now if I hooped, I probably just wouldn't care as much as I did then about what coach told me to do. And that's not saying I wouldn't listen to coach, but coach would always pull me to the side and say, he would even tell me, you listen to me too much, in a sense. Maybe not in that way, but he would say you gotta have a screw you bone to the point at some point. So and I never really had that at Purdue. It was kind of do what I'm told, run the play, don't break the play, guard, play hard type of deal. And if I was to do it again, I don't have any regrets by any means, but nowadays, knowing how free it is, I'll probably just shoot it a lot more and just play off the dribble. But yeah, I think we kind of, my era is kind of the same era of what kind of the play is now. Because I wasn't, the year I left is the year Carson Edwards came in and hit 8 threes in the game and stuff like that. So I'm not too far from it.
I want to throw this question out there. I did ask if anyone had questions for you. This came from our subtext. Favorite Badger you played against during your playing time?
You know what? I just really didn't like Wisconsin. But if I had to choose one, that's funny. I really liked, but I really didn't like Gasser.
Yeah.
Like, I liked playing against him because that was a year also I was pretty good offensively, and he checked me. So that was fun because I knew he was a really good defender, and he really played hard, and he kind of he could go. I'm not this big tough guy or anything like that, but sometimes I could push the limits, and he wasn't going back down. And it was good too. It was fun to be guarded by such a high caliber defender, and he just went about his business in a good way. Frank Kaminsky. Obviously it's always fun to play against good players. It was always fun to guard Sam Decker. Like, I would guard Sam Decker. We were in the same high school class. I think I would go with Gasser if I had to choose one. And then Nigel Hayes was funny to play against. Like, Nigel Hayes' trash talk was above my head sometimes. So it's like some of it just didn't affect me, and he was a very intelligent dude, but it just didn't make sense in a park way, and that's kind of how I talk trash.
I love that. That's a great quote. What about Koenig? Do you ever get switched off onto Koenig?
No, actually, okay, so there you go. That's a good one. Bronson Koenig is my favorite player to watch for Wisconsin. That's because I can remember I can still talk trash about PJ because him and PJ are in his claim class. I remember they came in and Bronson was coming off the bench that year, and I thought he should have started. He had work. I thought he was I still think he's maybe the sauciest guard that Wisconsin's had. And I mean, Bronson could he could go off the dribble. And I know I'm drawing a blank on the big man's name. I was a freshman that year. That was pretty good. He came in with Bronson. I know he got a lot of the credit after we left and after Nigel left. But I think Bronson was the guy that kind of made the ship go. He was messing AJ up with the footwork inside. He couldn't shoot. What was the
Ethan Happ? You talking about Ethan Happ?
Ethan Happ. There we go.
Yeah,
boom, 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 boom. There we go. And I thought Ethan Happ was really good, and he gave AJ work. I remember that AJ didn't respect him when he was a freshman that first game. I think he was in Mackey, if I'm not remembering it wrong, and he gave him work. But I always said Bronson was the key to that team, especially off the bench. He gave him a different type of swagger.
Who's a better post player, Ethan Happ or Kaminsky?
Ethan Happ.
Yeah.
His footwork was Frank Kaminsky, obviously who he is, and he's a great player, NBA player. But I think Ethan Happ's footwork in the post and his ability to draw fouls and get to his spots, and he wasn't the most athletic guy. He wasn't dunking on everybody. I think he was really good. I think what made Frank so good was you couldn't put a big on Frank. So I mean, Frank's post up a lot of the time came against smaller guys sometimes. Like I don't remember Frank posting up AJ a bunch, but Ethan would take AJ down there. You know what I mean? Ethan would take Isaac down there. And whereas though Frank would shoot over you, stretch you out to the three, drive around you, pick and pop type of deal. He would put Vince Edwards in the post. I guarded Frank a bunch. He would put me in the post, and you just kind of got to hope for the best. Hope AJ's behind you on the front.
Let me switch this, and I could talk about these matchups all day. That was prime Badger basketball for Badger fans. But I want to talk about the Badgers last year. Go big picture, Greg Gard. Badger fans were frustrated. We've been accustomed to going to March Madness, going to the dance. There's a fringe that even are like, listen, Gard's not the guy. If you can't get to the dance every year at Wisconsin, you don't deserve to be coaching Wisconsin. What are the expectations? What should they be for Wisconsin year in and year out?
I mean, I was talking to a guy this morning. He said on Twitter, I don't know if it's a guy. It was a person. I don't know if it's a guy or a woman. It was a person. And they said if you don't go to the Final Four and win a national championship, your season's a failure. So I think fans, and I was an Indiana fan, so I think fans have gotten to the point where it's a little bit of entitlement behind winning. And we think winning is easy, especially when you're a program that's had success like Wisconsin, that's had success like Indiana or Michigan State. You just assume winning is easy. And then also nowadays, in my opinion, a coach may not be able to say this, but if you're a fan and you're like really upset that like your program is not winning or not where they should be, at this point you can donate. You know what I mean? And that sounds kind of like what it is, but like it's a lot of collectives and a lot of alliances, and nowadays players don't necessarily care. Like when I was a freshman in high school, I committed to Purdue, and I committed because one of the reasons I committed, I can remember, we had a bathroom in our dorm, and my siblings were in college at the time. They had like one bathroom in the whole hallway. I had a bathroom in my dorm. We had a full court downstairs. Like those things don't matter anymore. Now it's how much am I getting in this NIL deal? Like, so now if you're a fan, you can really play a part in that and help get good players. But I think at Wisconsin, I mean, you want to make the tournament every year, and they have that standard, which is good, but they missed the tournament. They go to NIT championship. So, I mean, I think they make the tournament this year, and I think they have the guys to keep doing it. But I think if you're a fan and you want this to be the next 30-year run of tournaments, in this day and age, you can really help with that.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny you mentioned the bathroom in your dorm. You go look at Kansas's basketball facilities, just throwing one random team out there. It's right. Forget the bathroom in your dorm. There's a theater in your dorm.
You got a barbershop upstairs. Like that's like, yeah, one of my guys with the Kansas, like it's like nowadays it's a whole, like if you facilities matter, NIL matters, the stuff that the traditional fan once didn't have to think about. Now we actually, even myself being a fan of college basketball, if I really cared about a school and I wanted to complain enough, if I had enough energy to complain, I could find a way to have enough energy to help the problem. So I think we could look at it that way too. It's a lot of ways, but Coach Gard has been a part of a lot of success, and he's done it the right way. He hasn't cut corners. Last year, they just lost a lot of close games. And when you lose a player like Johnny Davis, a guy that you just get a ball to Johnny at the end of the game, and rather it's defensively, offensively, on the glass, he's going to find a way to win them the game. He's won them the game with offensive rebounds when he was at Wisconsin. He's won them the games by making game winners, by getting stops. And when you lose a guy like caliber, your team drops. I mean, when Purdue lost Robbie Hummel, that next year we played in the CBI. So
Right.
It's like sometimes you just can't replace that guy. And it takes a while. It takes a while for that locker room full of role guys that supported the guy to figure out which guy it's going to be. And then last year you saw Connor Season step into that role. And I think this year he's going to even progress even more. So I think programs sometimes it just happens, but it wasn't Coach Gard is still a great coach. He's still the guy for the job. He still has taken his program to great heights, and I think he's going to get them back to where they want to be.
Yeah, I'm excited about this year too. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers with BTN's Rapheal Davis. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. It's Locked On's choice for a sports book, and listen. I've talked to you guys about this. If you want to jump in on this with me, right? We can go to the Niners winning the Super Bowl. We can go to the Braves winning the World Series, the Suns winning the NBA Finals. Parlay all that with me together. That's where I'm at on FanDuel. There's a reason why I use FanDuel. It's the safest, most secure, easiest, simplest app to use. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off the NFL Sunday ticket. So again, if you want to parlay with me, Phoenix Suns winning the Finals, Braves winning the World Series, Niners winning the Super Bowl. Let's put some Scrooge McDuck back in the bank, and we'll go from there. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. All right, we're going to get Rapheal Davis back on the show. I want to talk Badgers this year, Rapheal. You mentioned a little bit Connor Siege, and that was the second part of a question a guy had. Who do you think makes the biggest jump from last year's team to this year's squad?
So I want to say jump, but I would say Chucky Hepburn I'm the most excited for this season. I think last year you come into the season, a lot of hype. You're the guy now. You're a sophomore. You're all Big Ten preseason. And then the season just and Chucky didn't have a bad season. He just didn't hit the game winners he hit the year before. But it's just I don't think he had the year he wanted to have. So I think Chucky, no one's talking about him in the preseason. You think of people talking about Big Ten point guards, it's Boo Buie, Jameer Young, it's AJ Hogard, even people throwing Bruce Thornton in that picture now. So it's like we're just forgetting about Chucky Hepburn, a guy that's beating the #1 team on his home court. So it's I think he makes a big jump. I think Tyler Wall has a lot to prove. He could be the only Badger to have 2 Big Ten championships, or was it 3 Big Ten championships, something like that? 3 Big Ten championships. So I think he attacks it in a different way. But I think Connor Season, a Fort Wayne area guy, I loved his red outfit yesterday.
Good, right?
But he looked good. Yeah, I think you wear that, you gotta be confident, man. I think he makes the biggest jump. I think people always say players make the biggest jump from their freshman to sophomore year, especially players that's played in a lot of minutes. And so his jump won't necessarily feel like a freshman or sophomore per se. It'll kind of feel like he's more of an upperclassman now because he played a bunch as a freshman. He knows what's going on. So I think he makes that jump defensively, which he lacked last year, which hurt them some. So I think he'll be really good. I think AJ comes in and changes things for Wisconsin and gives them something athletically they haven't had maybe since Sam Decker. And Sam Decker was just a pure athlete. Like, I don't know if people realize how great of an athlete Sam Decker was, but I think AJ Storr is athletically right there with him, and I think he's going to be able to help push the basketball transition. At the end of a shot clock, I think he's a guy that you can get out the way for and just kind of hope for the best. He can kind of get to the basket, get to his pull-up, he can make jumpers. So I think Wisconsin is I think they got a really good team. I think they no one's talking about them obviously because they just got to prove it, but I think they're a team in that kind of, I guess you would say, they were preseason 5 through 10 range that could really, I think, see getting into that top 3 range.
Okay. I want to go back to Hepburn. I really want to go under the hood here and pick your mind. he got a lot of flack from, and this was partially because of expectations last year, but people saw him at the end of shot clocks, at the end of games, taking some difficult shots. I always felt like it's more of a reflection of he didn't have shooting and spacing around him. Like he's a bit more of a traditional point guard in my feel, like someone who really wants to set up players. Maybe not his game to take the other team's best defender one-on-one at the end of a game, like maybe a springy 6'3" point of attack defender. What is he? Who does he remind you of him? And do you think I'm on track here? Just thinking that probably isn't Chucky's game necessarily.
I mean, yeah, I think I think he can get to a spot. I think last year at times he struggled. I think this year talking with coach, I think he's in a better shape. I think he's gotten a little bit quicker. I think he's got a little bit stronger to take those bumps to get to the basket. But sometimes last season he did feel like he settled at times for those tougher shots. But like you said, he is a traditional just a point guard, a guy that can set others up, that can get to a spot, that can score when needed. But I think Chucky is driven off of getting others involved. And like you said, I think a point guard like Chucky needs a running mate like an AJ Storr, like a guy that can come in, an athletic guy that can slash, that can open things up, not necessarily just space the floor, but also give another threat to get to the basket. I mean, you look at last year's team, Chucky has the ball. Everybody else is kind of jammed in. One, because there's not really a lot of spacing shooting, but there's nobody you're really worried about. If Chucky drives and I kick it, they're not beating me off the dribble. You know what I mean? And this year they have a guy where he drives, whether if it's Tyler Wall on a post kick out or Crowell on a post kick out, they have a guy that can catch it, 1-2 dribbles into the lane and score at the basket. And it's not just dependent on Chucky getting paint points from the perimeter. So I think that helps loosen up the defense, which was similar to what Johnny Davis was able to do a little bit too. So I think that getting that piece really helps Wisconsin. That athletic guard like a Johnny Davis, maybe not as good, or we don't know if he's as good, but we know athletically he's there. So yeah, I think that helps.
Is there anybody, and this is another question, we got this from the
Hey, my bad, sorry.
No, go ahead.
My bad. When you have a guy like that is a threat on the perimeter to get to the basket, you have to put your bigger guard to guard him. Yep. So that guard doesn't guard Chucky this season. That guard guards him. You know what I mean? And if Connor is getting to the basket, playing off the dribble, they check. So now I think this year Chucky is back being guarded by traditional point guards.
And I think that's a great point, because at the end of the games, you saw the other team's best wing defender, not the other team's point guard. The best wing defender was on Chucky.
Because you could switch, and nothing against Max at all, but Max over the season just got more comfortable. And early on, I mean, you're new. And I played with transfers. I played like a guy like Johnny Hill came into Purdue, 5th-year transfer. He didn't feel comfortable doing certain things because he was new. And I think as the season went on, Max started feeling comfortable taking certain shots, making certain plays off the dribble, and things started to loosen up, especially in the NIT. Not NIT, before that kind of run before postseason. Mm-hmm. It kind of just injuries kind of. But anyway, I think if they're healthy all the way through, they make the tournament last year. I mean, your best player goes down, but it's just one of those things where Max got better progressively. Even this season, I think Max will come into the season more aggressive offensively. Rather if it's not just being a play hard guard and a swing guard to swing the ball offensively. I think he takes some of those shots to loosen the pressure. But I think last season you could get away with just putting your point guard on Max and just switching your 2 on to Chucky. And that's this year I think teams will have to get away from it.
Quick question here. Any offense will be better? Do you think the offense will be better with any of the recruiting class coming in? Maybe reword this a little bit. Are you really excited about any of the recruits coming in, whether it's a Yalden, a Winter? We talked about AJ Storr.
Yeah, I like Gus.
Yes.
I like Gus The Bus. That's my guy. I like Gus The Bus. He went to Lalomere. I went to Lalomere. So I got to see him practice a bit. I got to call a couple of his games. I do a little bit of work at the high school level. So I got to call a few Lalomere games. I mean, the manager of our team was one of their coaches. So I think Gus will end up being a player. I think and after spending time with Brian Butch, I think he's right up that same kind of Wisconsin big man alley. He's emotional. He really, really cares. I think sometimes he may get in his way because he cares so much and he wants to be that good that he is. He could get overly emotional. But I think Gus will be a really, really good player in the Big Ten. I think he'll be a player that I think Gus will be that guy that's here 4 years. That guys will be like that other fans will be like, he's still here. I hate him. I don't like his attitude. Like that's who I'm excited for Gus's career. He can shoot the ball from deep. He can post, obviously. He can he's a willing passer. He likes to pass. I think if he gets in shape at a collegiate level and he puts on collegiate strength, I think he's gonna make guys play at his pace, and I think he can pick guys apart.
What do you think of and by the way, I'm a longtime adopter of the Gus Bus from before he committed to Wisconsin. I think he's going to be great at Wisconsin. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I think he's Brad Davison.
Exactly. He's just the big Brad Davison, John Gasser, like that annoying antagonizer that's going to like maybe kind of, Hunter Dickinson-ish, kind of like and he's good. He's not a guy he's not a big guy that's bad. He's a big guy. He knows he's big. He likes to be big, and he's going to throw his weight around. I think by the time he's a senior or whatnot, I think it'll be his team, and I think a lot of it will go through him. I think if he can continue to shoot the ball well, especially from deep, if he can – I know a lot of big men, and even guards, when you come to high school come to college from high school, you just struggle to shoot it from deep. But I think if he can continue that, I think he's the Wisconsin big that everybody will like.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the guy that opposing fan bases, when you go to Michigan State, Purdue, they're going to have a chance for him. And you only have a chance for the players that annoy you because they're good, right? You don't.
Yeah, like him and Connor Season, senior year, Gus's junior year, like no matter who you have, that's a really good two to start with.
Yep.
Like, so, yeah, I like Gus. I like his. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can't say I don't.
We're going to take one more quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to ask Rapheal Davis who wins the Big Ten. And we're going to play a game of how well does Rapheal Davis know Rapheal Davis? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at LinkedIn. And Rapheal Davis would know this too, talk about this. You need the right pieces on your team to build a championship contender. You need the right pieces in your corporate office to build a championship contender. That's what LinkedIn does. LinkedIn is the #1 hiring service for small businesses. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's what LinkedIn Job does. They find you the right people faster and for free. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience. So you can quickly prioritize who you want to hire, who you want to recruit into your team. And it's why small businesses continue to rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's get Rapheal Davis back on, BTN basketball analyst, former Purdue Boilermaker. Rapheal, I do want to really quickly give you a second. Where can people find anything that you have going on, any work that you have going on? RaphealDavisBasketball.com. Any information you need to know about myself, or I founded a nonprofit, my wife and I, a couple years ago. We're actually having a fundraiser tonight, Purdue's football field. So RaphealDavisBasketball.com. And if that's all about our youth development, inner city type of work that we do. I love it. And for those who may not know, Rapheal is one of the real ones. I remember like 8 months ago, you had a post on Twitter about a kid playing basketball. He didn't have a basketball hoop. So you guys put it together to go and buy him a hoop, put it together.
Yeah,
he's one of the real ones. So give him a follow, see what's going on. One of the good people out there in the basketball community. Rapheal, I wanted to go here. Who wins the Big Ten this year?
Purdue. I think Purdue is like Robbie. I think Robbie said it yesterday. Purdue is in a class of its own, especially in the Big Ten. When you win you win the league by 3 games. I mean, you win the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State is the other favorite. You sweep them, and they bring everybody back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you bring everybody back. They add a few pieces, but you also add a few pieces. So I think Purdue's the favorite. If I was to rank it, I would go Purdue, Michigan State, Maryland, Illinois probably, and then Wisconsin, Ohio State. That would probably be my 6, and then I go Northwestern. I think that's 7. I feel really strong about making the NCAA tournament run. I think that 7 I feel like really could make it. Then I think if everything goes right for, say, Indiana, Rutgers, Michigan, I mean, everybody else really, Iowa, like if like Tony Perkins, Sanford, and McCaffrey, they make a big jump and they can kind of take the reins. And then Ben Kirky is as good as advertised. As a guy that's averaged 20 in his previous league. I think Iowa's right there as well. They always have a guy that can score. But I think those are my top 5 right now.
All right, we're going to finish up here. Play a quick fun game of how well does Rapheal Davis know Rapheal Davis? You ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Most points he scored at Purdue. And against who?
24 against Iowa.
And?
Michigan State.
Crushed it. Nicely done. That Michigan State game, you hit 6 threes, man.
Yeah. The Michigan State's a funny story. I think 5 in the first half. I think I go 5 or 6 from 3 in the first half. I think I finished the game. I don't know. I have to go look. I can remember going to practice the next day and never forget it. Going to practice the next day, Payton was like, Ray, he was 6 for 8 in the first half. He was 6 for 8 in the first half. And I think I finished the game 8 for 27. I almost shot us out of the game in the second half. I almost single-handedly. That's one of the things, single-handedly, I almost lost us the game.
That's awesome. In one of your highest-scoring efforts. That's awesome.
But yeah, that was cool. That was a fun game. I had never beat Michigan State up to that point. That was my first time I beat them in my career.
Career free throw percentage. Were you over or under 73?
I was probably like 72.
Yeah, you're just under. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Most free throws you ever took in a game, over under 15.5.
Over. I think I took like 17 against Missouri and Maui.
You had 18 against Mizzou. How did you get to the line 18 times?
See, I sucked. I sucked against Kansas the game before. The game before, I sucked against Kansas so bad that we walked into the locker room and we in Maui, and I walked up to Payne and I said, yo, my bad. Like, that year before, we had come last place in the Big Ten. That was our preseason tournament. We in Maui, and I sucked in the first game. Like, against Kansas State, Payne was playing Bruce Weber again, and we lost. Marcus Foster tore us up. And then that we had an opportunity. The guys went to everybody got to hang out, went to the beach, and then Payne said he was going to the gym. And if you wanted to go, go. And I went. And I think myself and I took one of our freshmen with us. And we were only 2 guys. And we worked out, played. And I think I shot like 100 free throws. And I made my point to get to the free throw line the next game. And I remember that. Yep. And then that next game, we beat BYU. And I had a good game against that one, too. So, yeah, that's my junior year.
Was there any grifting in that game? Like, were you baiting calls? Or was that a legitimate 18 trips to the line?
Nah, that was like really like going to the basket, getting held. Like it was just like, and we were they wanted to press us, and we were I just was driving the ball to the basket, and then we got into the and then you get into the 1-and-1 situation. You know what I mean? Then they won, and then at that point it's over. Yeah. I think we got to a free throw game early into the second half, and then they kind of went from there. And that was that year, John Noctis was our point, and I handled the ball a bunch, coming off of ball screens and whatnot. So yeah, I was hooked up that game. Yeah, high school. I remember high school. I had a game where I scored 57, and I think I had 28 free throws in a game.
What does it feel like to score? I mean, I have to take. We got to wrap this up here in a minute because I don't want to take any more of your time. But what does it feel like to score 57? Like, how well do you sleep that night? Like,
I didn't even know. I remember one of my teammates, and he's no longer with us. I remember he, God rest his soul, he walked up to me in the game after the free throw line. He said, man, you got 40. Go for 50. And I didn't even know. And I think it's just one of those things where, and actually at that time, you could say in high school you're playing bad competition, but we were playing against Northrop, which at that time had the Scott twins, and Bryson was going to Purdue with me, and then Bryson's twin ended up going to Indiana State. So that was like I felt like it was me versus the twins, and so I had to outscore both of them, and that was the goal, and it happened. And 15 years later, I'm still able to share that post on Facebook and piss Bryson Scott off.
I love it.
It feels better now than it did then.
I love it. All right, 2 more quick ones here. Most turnover. We got to turn this into a negative one here. Most turnovers you ever had in a game.
5.
8.
Yeah. Against who?
Ohio State.
Which? Yeah. I could imagine. Had to be Shannon Scott year.
Probably, yeah. There weren't too many high turnover games. But I feel like we've been pumping you up here with a lot of platitudes, so I have to bring you down a tick.
Oh no. I remember getting to like a piston match with D'Angelo Russell. So I could believe that.
Last one here. We're gonna wrap it up. Did you have a career winning or losing record against Wisconsin?
Losing.
Yeah, close though. 3-4.
Yeah, losing. I won there though. That's tough to do. I won there my freshman year. That's the only time I won there. It's tough to do though.
You also won the
tough
last
to beat
game.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, you won the last game.
That was my senior night. I won my game there, and I won my senior night. That was a game Nigel Hayes kind of confused me with his trash talking. Yeah, I remember that.
That's the funniest thing in this story for me. Like, what? Do you have any remembrance of what he was saying?
I just don't even know it. I just remember being in the locker room because I remember he was really funny in the media. Mm-hmm. Extremely, he was good with the media, smart guy. But he talked like that on the court too. But it's I'm not a reporter. I don't know, man. I just remember being in the locker room. I remember AJ saying something about it. AJ really didn't say much about anything. He just kind of, did you hear what such and such said? And I was like, yeah, man, I didn't get it. But he was a really good player. I think, honestly, I always said, and honestly, I'm not him, and I can't speak for another man, but I really, really, really think if Nigel Hayes leaves with Frank and Sam, I think he's a long-lasting NBA player. I think he would have got drafted. I think he would have stuck because I think his game for that position fits now. And I think he could have been that tweener big because he was really good.
Yeah, for sure. Really, really high IQ on the court. All right, He is Rapheal Davis, BTN basketball analyst, former Purdue great. Rapheal, thank you so much for the time, man. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Anytime.
All right, and for everyone listening on Wisconsin, basketball's coming up. Let's go. We'll talk again tomorrow.